Let me tell you something from the heart. When you get past 60, things start to change. Your knees ache a little more. Your back doesn't always cooperate when you try to stand up straight. And then, out of nowhere, your eyes start feeling dry. Not just once in a while, but every day. That constant, gritty feeling, like there's sand trapped beneath your eyelids. Blinking doesn't help. Eye drops only work for a little while. It starts messing with your sleep. You can't read the paper like you used to. Watching TV gets uncomfortable. It's frustrating, and it's lonely too. Nobody tells you just how much something like dry eyes can wear down your spirit. I've been there. I felt it. That slow decline that makes you feel like life is slipping away one dry blink at a time. But I'll tell you what happened to me. I stumbled on something. Not by accident, but by paying attention. I didn't go looking for a miracle. I just started listening to my body and remembered how my grandmother used to treat things long before doctors had a pill for every ache. She'd go into the kitchen, not the pharmacy, and when my eyes started bothering me, I thought maybe I'd try things her way. I'm not saying I stopped taking advice from the doctor, but I started adding in a few things that made a real difference. Foods, not chemicals, not drops that only mask the problem. Foods that actually help the body heal itself. After a couple of weeks, the difference was something I couldn't ignore. After a couple of months, it felt like 99% of the problem had vanished. I'm not exaggerating. The burning, the irritation, the dryness, nearly gone. Now let me walk you through exactly what I started doing. If you're over 60 and your eyes feel like they're drying up like old leather, I want you to hear this. Don't scroll past it. Don't ignore it. This could bring you back to the life you remember. Not overnight, but slowly and surely, it'll help you feel like yourself again. The first thing I added was omega-3 fatty acids. Now I know that sounds technical, but I'm talking about foods like wild-caught salmon and flax seeds. Not pills. Real food. I started having salmon twice a week, not fried, just baked or grilled with a little olive oil and garlic. That one change alone started reducing the inflammation in my eyes. I could feel it. Less redness, less itching. It was like my eyes were finally getting the oil they needed to stay moist. Flax seeds? I just sprinkled them on my morning oatmeal. Simple, no fuss. It's like giving your body the tools it needs to build back the natural tear film that keeps your eyes comfortable. You might not think food could do that, but it can. The second thing I leaned into was leafy greens, spinach, kale, Swiss chard. These things are full of lutein and zeaxanthin. Don't worry about pronouncing them. Just know they're powerful stuff for your eyes. They help protect the surface and keep the cells around the eyes healthy and working like they should. I started throwing a handful of spinach into my eggs every morning. Some days I'd make a smoothie with kale and banana. It didn't taste fancy. It didn't have to. I just knew that every bite was bringing me closer to feeling normal again. That crusty, tight feeling around my eyelids in the morning. It started to fade. Now the third one is eggs. Simple, isn't it? A good old egg, especially the yolk. Don't throw it out. That's where the lutein lives. And you need cholesterol for hormone balance too. That's something people don't talk about enough. I ate 2 eggs nearly every morning, scrambled or boiled. I'd sit at the table, take my time, and just enjoy the quiet start to the day. Sometimes healing doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's just a matter of giving your body what it's been craving all along. Fourth on the list is nuts and seeds, almonds, walnuts, sunflower seeds. These are packed with vitamin E, which helps protect your eyes from the oxidative stress that builds up over time. You don't even notice it happening until suddenly you can't look at the sun without tearing up, or the wind makes your eyes sting like they've been slapped. I started keeping a small jar of mixed nuts on the kitchen counter. Every time I walked by, I'd grab a handful. No salt, no sugar, just the nuts in their natural state. Within weeks, my eyes weren't so sensitive anymore. It felt like they had a shield protecting them. Then came number 5, sweet potatoes and carrots. Now we're talking about beta-carotene, which your body turns into vitamin A. And vitamin A is a game changer for dry eyes. Without enough of it, your eyes simply can't produce the right kind of tears. I remember as a boy, my mother would always say, "Eat your carrots so you don't go blind." Turns out she was right. I started roasting sweet potatoes with olive oil and rosemary. I'd eat a bowl of steamed carrots with dinner. Nothing fancy, just regular, simple food. And slowly, surely, I could feel my vision clearing, the haze lifting. My eyes stopped feeling like they were cracking every time I blinked. Now the sixth one, and this might surprise you, is water. Plain and simple. Not tea, not coffee, not soda. Water. I realized I'd gone years without drinking enough. I was sipping here and there, but not enough to truly hydrate my body. And dry eyes, they start from the inside out. If your body's dehydrated, your eyes will be the first to let you know. I started carrying a small bottle with me, refilled it 3 or 4 times a day. I didn't force it, I just kept it nearby. Slowly, it became a habit. Within days, I noticed I was blinking less. My eyes weren't as tired. They didn't ache at night the way they used to. Now I want you to listen to this part closely. This isn't about becoming a health nut. It's not about turning your whole life upside down. It's about giving your body the things it needs so it can take care of you in return. After 60, we're not looking for shiny new routines. We want peace. We want comfort. We want to see the faces of our grandkids clearly. We want to read the stories we love. We want to enjoy a sunset without having to blink away the pain. That's all. And I believe these foods can help you get there. I'm not promising you magic. I'm sharing what worked for me. And I share it because I've been where you are. I know how easy it is to think this is just how life goes now, that we're stuck with this new version of ourselves. But that's not the truth. There's still so much life left in you. And your eyes, they deserve to see every last bit of it with clarity and comfort. So try it. Just start with one of these changes. Maybe it's the eggs. Maybe it's drinking more water. Add one new habit a week. Let your body adjust. Let it respond. You'll feel it. I promise you will. And then you'll want to keep going. You'll wake up one morning and realize that the scratchy eyes, the blurred vision, the constant drops, they're not the first thing on your mind anymore. That, my friend, is healing. That is hope. I'm an old man now, but I've learned something important. We're not meant to just survive these later years. We're meant to thrive in them. And sometimes the answers we're looking for aren't in a bottle. They're in the kitchen, in the garden, on our plates. Don't wait. You don't need a prescription to get started. Just a little faith and a trip to the grocery store. Your eyes have carried you through a lifetime. They've seen joy and sorrow. They've watched your children grow. They've caught every wrinkle in your lover's smile. They've served you well. Now it's time to return the favor. Give them what they need. These 6 simple foods changed everything for me. I believe they can do the same for you. Keep going. Don't give up. You've still got a lot of life to see. Now let's clear some common questions. What emotional transformation can occur when someone no longer feels the daily burden of dry eyes, especially in retirement years meant for joy and clarity? My friend, let me take you back a few years, back when I had just settled into retirement. After decades of hard work, long commutes, tight deadlines, and the ever-churning wheels of responsibility, I had finally arrived at the golden chapter. I imagined these years would be filled with morning walks bathed in soft sunlight, long evenings spent reading by the window, traveling to places I had only seen in magazines, and catching every glint in the eyes of my grandchildren when they laughed at my stories. But something quite small, so small that most people would overlook it, began casting a shadow over this bright chapter. Dry eyes. Yes, those 2 simple words. They may sound like a mere inconvenience, but to live with dry eyes is to face a constant battle with discomfort. And it's not just physical. It weighs on the soul in ways you wouldn't expect. You see, when your eyes burn and sting every day, when they itch and blur and water not from emotion, but from irritation, it slowly chips away at the joy of living. Reading a book becomes a challenge. Watching the birds hop about in the garden becomes a chore. Even a gentle breeze on a spring morning turns into something to dread. It is as though life is unfolding in front of you, and your eyes, the very windows to the world, are fogged up, reluctant to let you in. And when you are retired, when you finally have the time to enjoy life, this fog feels like a cruel trick. I found myself becoming irritable, short-tempered. I started declining invitations, staying indoors more. Not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't stand the discomfort. It's hard to explain to someone who hasn't lived it, but constant physical discomfort, no matter how small, has a way of turning the heart weary. But then something changed, slowly at first, almost so subtly I didn't notice. A new treatment, some changes in routine, perhaps a bit of grace from above. I started waking up without that gritty sensation in my eyes. I could sit outside without rushing for eye drops. I read 3 chapters in a row without stopping to blink furiously or rub my eyes. And oh, what a revelation it was. It wasn't just my eyes that felt clearer. It was my spirit. That weight I didn't realize I had been carrying started to lift. And what followed was a transformation I still marvel at today. When you are no longer preoccupied with discomfort, your heart begins to make space again. Space for laughter, space for gratitude, space for simple joys that were once overshadowed by a persistent ache. I remember walking through the park one morning and realizing I had not once thought about my eyes. I had simply looked around, really looked. I saw the way the sun poured through the leaves. I watched a little girl chasing bubbles with such joy, her laughter like music in the wind. And I cried, not from pain this time, but from a deep, soul-stirring sense of renewal. In those moments, I discovered that healing is not always a dramatic event. Sometimes it is quiet, sometimes it arrives gently, and you only realize it when you find yourself smiling without reason. When you sit down to write a letter, or hum a song while making tea, or spend an afternoon helping your grandson with his toy airplane without once excusing yourself to rinse your eyes. It is in these everyday moments that the emotional transformation takes root. There is a kind of freedom that comes when a persistent discomfort leaves your life. It is as though a room in your heart, long occupied by a nagging guest, has been vacated, and suddenly you can fill that space with things that nourish your spirit. For me, it was reconnecting with old friends, picking up my paintbrush after decades, taking spontaneous road trips with my wife, just like we used to when we were young. These things were always possible, technically speaking, but when dry eyes ruled my days, I lacked the energy, the motivation, the clarity. Emotionally, I became lighter, more patient, more present. I listened more carefully, laughed more freely. I no longer feared the start of the day. I embraced it. And that shift, that shift is worth everything. Because in retirement, we are not chasing ambition anymore. We are not measuring time by productivity. We are measuring it by meaning, by memory, by presence. And when you are free from pain, even a minor one like dry eyes, you begin to drink in each day more fully. I found myself moved by things I had once overlooked. A sparrow pecking at crumbs on the porch, the curve of a cloud drifting lazily across the sky, the sparkle of morning dew on grass. They say the eyes are the window to the soul, but I believe they are also the doorway to wonder. When they are clear and comfortable, your soul feels free to wander, to marvel, to feel. And what is retirement, really, if not the grand opportunity to feel again? To feel without agenda, without pressure, just for the sake of feeling, to love more deeply, to remember more vividly, to hope with childlike abandon. So when dry eyes no longer dictated the rhythm of my days, I found myself stepping back into life. Not the hurried life of deadlines and calendars, but the full life, the true life. If you have ever lived with dry eyes, or any daily discomfort for that matter, you know it demands constant attention. It is like static on a radio, always there, dulling everything else. But when that static fades, when silence returns, you hear the music again, and it is sweeter than you remember. That is what happened to me. I began to hear the music of life again, and every note was a blessing. So yes, the emotional transformation is real. It is profound. It is not just about relief, it is about rediscovery, about becoming again who you were before pain crept in and took up residence in your life. And sometimes you discover someone even better, wiser, kinder, more attuned to life's beauty. I sit here now, well into the twilight years, not with regret, but with deep, abiding gratitude. I can see clearly. I can feel fully. And every single day feels like a gift unwrapped, not rushed, not taken for granted, just opened slowly, tenderly, with awe. And that, my friend, is what happens when your eyes no longer burn, when your spirit no longer aches, when your days are finally your own, and joy returns with all the clarity you once feared you had lost. Why do most people overlook the healing power of nutrition for eye health? And how can older adults reclaim their confidence in food as medicine? Let me tell you something, my friend, something that took me the better part of 70 years to truly understand. The healing power of food is real, not just in some poetic, far-off sense, but right here, right now on your plate. Especially when it comes to our eyes, our precious eyes that have witnessed decades of life's beauty and sorrow, and now strain to stay clear. Most folks, especially in the later years, seem to forget, or maybe they never really knew, that what we eat has the power to nourish more than just our bodies. It can nourish our sight, our confidence, and even our sense of hope. When I was younger, I was like most people. I didn't think twice about what I put in my mouth. Food was either fast or familiar. It filled my belly, gave me a burst of energy, and I moved on. Back then, we didn't have the same conversations about antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, or lutein. Those words weren't part of my vocabulary. We didn't link spinach to vision or almonds to clarity. If you had trouble seeing, you got glasses. If your eyes were dry, you got drops. And that was that. We trusted pills and prescriptions far more than we trusted a good bowl of leafy greens. But now, having lived through the aches and slow fading of eyesight that comes with age, I have come to see how short-sighted that thinking was. I remember a few years back, sitting at my kitchen table, squinting at the newspaper. The letters seemed to dance on the page, mocking me. My eyes would burn by noon, water by evening, and blur when I tried to watch television at night. I tried everything the pharmacy could offer: drops, gels, supplements in shiny bottles. Some helped a little, most did not. It wasn't until I stumbled upon an old friend, George, a fellow retiree and a man who had always marched to his own drum, that I began to reconsider food as something more than just fuel. George had this glow about him, the kind of sparkle in his eyes that made you want to know what he was doing right. When I asked, expecting him to talk about some new surgery or treatment, he said something that made me laugh at first. He said, "I started eating with my eyes in mind." I thought he meant he was watching his portions. But no, he meant he was feeding his vision. Literally. He talked about dark leafy greens, sweet potatoes, wild salmon, eggs with bright golden yolks, nuts, berries. All the things I had always passed over or pushed to the edge of my plate. He told me how he started cooking again, with care, not just to fill the stomach, but to heal. I was skeptical. I mean, how could carrots compete with the pharmacy? But something in his conviction stirred me. So I began my own quiet experiment. I started adding spinach to my breakfast. I swapped fried snacks for a handful of walnuts and blueberries. I started using olive oil instead of butter. I even, believe it or not, started enjoying kale. Slowly, week by week, I began to notice changes. My eyes didn't feel as dry. I could read longer without straining. I stopped rubbing them constantly. There was a sharpness returning, not just in my vision, but in my spirit. And that's when I realized why so many people overlook the healing power of nutrition. Because it asks us to believe in the quiet, the slow, the subtle. In a world where we expect quick fixes, we forget that our bodies thrive on consistency. We underestimate the way one meal, repeated with love and intention, can begin to turn the tide. We hand over our faith to prescriptions because they promise something immediate. But food? It asks us to trust, to be patient, and to reconnect with the idea that healing is an everyday act, not a miracle. For older adults especially, it can be hard to reclaim that trust. We've spent decades being told that medicine comes in a bottle, that health is something doctors handle. But I'm here to tell you it's never too late to turn your kitchen into a sanctuary, to view your plate as a canvas of healing. The trick is to start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Start with one meal a day. Make it colorful. Add something fresh, something real. If it grew from the ground or swam in the sea, it's probably good for you. And more than the food itself, there is something about preparing it that brings back a sense of control. When you take the time to peel an orange, to steam a bunch of broccoli, to season your salmon just right, you begin to feel connected to your own well-being again. You're not waiting for someone to save you. You are participating in your healing. There is power in that. Tremendous power. I also believe that the emotional transformation that comes with eating better is just as important as the physical one. As I started eating foods that helped my eyes, I found myself looking at the world with more appreciation. Literally, I saw the colors of the sunset more vividly. I noticed the tiny lines in the faces of people I love. I could thread a needle again, and with every little success, my confidence grew. I was no longer the man who sat in the corner, squinting and frustrated. I was present, engaged, grateful. So if you're sitting there thinking it's too late, or that food can't possibly make a difference, let me say this clearly. You are never too old to begin again. Your body remembers how to heal. It just needs the right tools, and nature, in her quiet wisdom, has provided them. They are in your garden, your grocery bag, your kitchen cupboard. Use them, trust them, and let them work slowly, steadily, the way a river smooths stone. The journey back to health, especially with something as delicate and essential as vision, is not always linear, but it is possible, and it begins with the courage to believe that food, simple, honest food, still holds the power to restore. I know it sounds old-fashioned, maybe even naive, but I've lived the proof, and I'd bet my last sweet potato that you can too. So tonight, when you sit down to eat, ask yourself not just what you're craving, but what your eyes are longing for. Give them the colors of carrots, the depth of dark greens, the strength of seeds, the brilliance of berries. Eat for clarity, for strength, for life, and do it not with fear, but with hope. Because hope, my dear friend, is the first ingredient in any true healing. What daily habits, in combination with these 6 foods, can create lasting comfort, clearer vision, and the return of vitality that many think is gone forever? Let me sit with you a while and share something that took me a lifetime to fully understand. You see, there comes a point in life, usually sometime after the children are grown, the career is winding down, and the days feel quieter, when you begin to notice the little things that used to come so easily are now harder. Your eyes don't quite focus the way they used to. Reading the paper feels like a challenge. Walking up the stairs leaves you more breathless than before. And perhaps most heartbreaking of all, the energy you once took for granted seems like a distant memory. But I am here to tell you, not as a doctor or a scholar, but as an old man who has walked this long road, that the spark is not gone. It is waiting for you, and it can return. The secret lies in what we choose to do each day and what we put on our plate. Now, I am not one for fads or fancy trends. I have lived long enough to see those come and go. But I do believe in what is real, what is time-tested, and what the earth has always offered. There are 6 foods that, when eaten consistently and paired with the right habits, have the power to bring back comfort, clarity, and yes, vitality. Let me tell you about those 6 first. Leafy greens like spinach and kale, sweet earthy carrots, wild-caught salmon, blueberries as blue as the evening sky, nuts, particularly walnuts and almonds, and eggs with yolks as golden as the morning sun. These may not sound magical, but trust me, when eaten regularly, they are. Leafy greens packed with lutein and zeaxanthin protect the eyes like a gentle shield. Carrots bring beta-carotene, which your body turns into vitamin A, the very thing your eyes need to stay sharp. Salmon offers omega-3 fatty acids that soothe dry eyes and keep the nerves nourished. Blueberries fight inflammation and help with circulation, which is vital for eye health and overall energy. Nuts provide vitamin E, guarding your cells against damage. And eggs, well, they are a perfect little package of protein, lutein, and choline, all crucial for keeping your body and brain working together like an old but well-tuned radio. But let me tell you something just as important. These foods alone are not enough. You can eat them every day, but if your life is filled with chaos, poor sleep, no movement, and stress that hangs on your back like a wet coat, they won't have the room to work their magic. That is why daily habits matter just as much. I learned this the hard way. I used to think a salad here and there was enough. But I was still staying up late, worrying too much, and sitting far too often. When I finally made changes to how I lived, that is when everything began to shift. Start with the morning. There is a kind of power in beginning your day with purpose. I make it a point to wake early. I drink a glass of water first thing, plain water. It wakes up the system, gets everything moving. Then I go outside. Even if it is just for a few minutes, I let the light touch my face. The sun, even on a cloudy day, tells your body it is time to be awake. That light does something wonderful for your eyes and your mood. I walk every day, sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes 40. It doesn't matter how far. What matters is that I move. Movement pumps blood to the eyes, clears the mind, and stirs the heart. You do not need a gym. You just need to step outside and take one step, then another. Breathing deeply is another habit I've come to treasure. I never used to think about breathing. It just happened. But when I started taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly, close my eyes, and take long, slow breaths, everything began to soften. My shoulders relaxed. My thoughts calmed. My eyes, often strained and dry, began to feel less burdened. That's no accident. Deep breathing reduces stress, and stress is a hidden thief that steals your vitality inch by inch. Then there is sleep. If you are not sleeping well, nothing will feel right. You can eat all the blueberries in the world, but if your nights are restless, your days will be foggy. Create a simple routine. Wind down before bed, no bright screens, read a book, drink a cup of herbal tea, listen to gentle music. Tell your body it is time to rest. I found that when I did this, my sleep deepened and I woke with a clarity I had forgotten was possible. Now let's talk about stillness. Just a few minutes a day, not to sleep, not to doze off, just to sit with yourself. Think, reflect, give thanks. I do this in the afternoon, often with a cup of tea and the sound of birds outside. In that stillness, something shifts. You begin to hear your own needs again. You begin to notice your body, your spirit, and how they respond to your choices. And finally, connection. You would be amazed how much your eyes brighten and your energy returns when you laugh with someone you love, when you share a meal, when you look into someone's eyes and feel understood. We were not meant to live isolated. We were meant to share stories, meals, and moments. And that kind of connection is, in its own way, healing. So here is the path. Eat those 6 foods regularly, not as a chore, but as an offering to yourself. Add them to meals with joy. Let the colors fill your plate and your senses. Then pair that with daily habits that honor your body and soul. Wake with purpose. Move your body. Breathe with intention. Rest with care. Reflect with stillness. Connect with love. I know some will say, it's too late for me. That energy is long gone. But I tell you, I thought the same once. And now in my later years, I feel more alive than I did 20 years ago. My vision is clearer. My joints ache less. My mood is steady. My days are filled with small, beautiful moments I used to overlook. All because I decided to care every single day in small and loving ways. So if you're wondering whether change is possible, let me be your proof. Lasting comfort, clearer vision, and the return of vitality are not myths. They are waiting, and all it takes is a plate of good food, a handful of simple habits, and a heart willing to begin again. You are not too old, it is not too late. Begin today. If you liked today's discussion, don't forget to like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay updated with every video we release. And yes, don't forget to share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. Every comment is special to us. Your feedback helps us improve further. We'll continue to meet you in every new video on this channel. So until next time, take care.